Nobody was worried about SARA. She was not sick. She was not in pain. She woke up every morning, made her coffee, answered her messages, and kept going. From the outside, she looked like someone who had it all together. But something was happening inside her body that no one, not her, not her doctor, not a single person in her life, could see. Over 7 years, SARA accumulated symptoms she explained away. The tiredness she blamed on her schedule, the bloating she blamed on what she ate last night, the anxiety she blamed on work, the brain fog she blamed on age. None of it was dramatic enough to alarm her. All of it was her body sending the same signal over and over that it was running out of what it needed most. This video is about what SARA eventually found, a remedy so ancient it predates modern medicine, and so well-researched it is now backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. If your body has been sending you signals you keep dismissing, do not close this video. What comes next may be the most important thing you hear this year. The most dangerous kind of damage is the kind that happens slowly. A cliff does not crumble in one storm. It erodes, grain by grain, season by season, until one day the edge gives way and everyone acts surprised. That is exactly what modern life does to the human body, not through catastrophe, through accumulation. 4 forces are pressing against the average human body every single day. First, ultra-processed food, engineered to override the body's natural satiety signals and loaded with compounds that feed harmful bacteria while starving beneficial ones. Second, unresolved stress, not occasional pressure, but the low, constant hum of modern anxiety that keeps your cortisol elevated long after the threat is past. Third, chemical exposure. In the packaging, the cleaning products, the cosmetics, the water, a background noise of compounds your liver was never designed to process in this volume. Fourth, disrupted sleep rhythms, the single most underestimated destroyer of cellular repair, immune function, and hormonal balance. There's a biological process happening inside SARA's body right now, and possibly inside yours, that researchers have spent the last 2 decades trying to explain to a world that keeps underestimating it. They call it chronic, low-grade inflammation. And unlike the swelling you see when you twist an ankle, this version leaves no visible mark, no rash, no fever, no signal you can point to. It is a fire burning inside walls you cannot see through. What makes this fire so destructive is not its intensity. It is its persistence. Your body's immune system was designed for short, sharp battles. Infection arrives. Immune response fires. Infection cleared. Immune response stands down. But when the threat is constant, processed food, toxins, stress, poor sleep, the immune response never stands down. It keeps firing. And in doing so, it begins to damage the very tissue it was designed to protect. Researchers now have a name for this process: inflammaging, the slow, inflammation-driven acceleration of biological aging. It is not inevitable, but it is very, very common. SARA went to her doctor. Of course she did. She described the fatigue that sleep did not fix, the digestion that was never quite right, the mornings when her whole body felt like it needed rebooting before she could function. Her doctor ordered tests. A week later, the results arrived. Every number sat inside its acceptable range. She was told she was well. This is the gap that millions of people fall into every single year, the gap between what a standard panel measures, which is the presence of diagnosed disease, and what is actually unfolding inside a body being slowly worn down by chronic inflammation, microbiome disruption, and nutritional depletion. Standard medicine is extraordinary at identifying illness. It is far less equipped to detect the long, slow road that leads to it. And that road, that specific road, is exactly where naturopathic medicine plants its flag. Here's something that should reframe everything you think you know about natural healing. The remedies we are about to discuss are not fringe ideas discovered on the internet last year. They are approaches to human health that every major civilization on Earth independently arrived at. Ayurveda in India over 5,000 years ago, traditional Chinese medicine over 3,000 years ago, the Hippocratic tradition in Greece, indigenous healing systems across Africa, the Americas, and Asia. All of them, working from entirely different geographies, arrived at the same core insight. The body heals itself when given the right conditions. The food, the plants, the rhythm of eating and rest. When SARA stumbled into naturopathic medicine, she was not looking for something mystical. She was looking for something that made sense of what she was experiencing in a way that her test results never could. And what she found was not a rejection of science. It was a far older version of it. One that asks not which drug suppresses this symptom, but which conditions does this body need to restore its own capacity to heal. That question, that one fundamental question, is what changes everything. To understand why the remedy works, you first need to understand where healing actually begins. And the answer, the one that keeps appearing at the intersection of naturopathic tradition and cutting-edge research, is the gut. Not because digestion is important, though it is, but because your gut is far more than a digestion organ. It is the headquarters of your immune system. It is the primary production site for serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with emotional stability and calm. And it maintains a direct communication channel to your brain through a nerve so significant it has its own name, the vagus nerve. Inside every human gut lives a community of approximately 38 trillion microorganisms. When the balance of this community is intact, with diverse beneficial species in healthy numbers, your immune system is regulated, your inflammation is managed, your mood is supported, and your body runs the way it was engineered to run. But when that balance tips, through processed food, antibiotic overuse, chronic stress, and chemical exposure, the entire downstream cascade begins. SARA's fatigue, her brain fog, her bloating, her low-level anxiety, every one of those symptoms traces a direct line back to a gut ecosystem that had been gradually, quietly compromised. The Human Microbiome Project, a decade-long international research initiative, confirmed that gut microbiome imbalance, termed dysbiosis, is now associated with over 30 distinct systemic conditions. Researchers describe the gut as a second brain, capable of operating independently, influencing mood, cognition, immunity, and inflammatory response simultaneously. Now, we arrive at the remedy. And the first thing to understand is that it is not a single pill, a single plant, or a single dietary rule. The remedy that naturopathic medicine places at the center of healing is a protocol. 3 interconnected pillars that work together to remove what is harming the body, restore what the body has lost, and create the internal conditions in which the body's extraordinary self-healing intelligence can finally operate without obstruction. Pillar 1. Nourish. Using real, whole food deliberately chosen to rebuild the gut microbiome and extinguish systemic inflammation. Pillar 2. Restore. Using targeted medicinal herbs with thousands of years of application and growing bodies of clinical evidence behind them. Pillar 3. Renew. Using intentional cycles of eating and fasting to trigger the body's own cellular regeneration system. These three things together create a healing environment no pharmaceutical has ever been able to replicate, because they do not fight the body, they work with it. Pillar 1 is not a diet. There are no calorie targets, no food groups to eliminate wholesale, no rules designed to make eating feel punishing. Pillar 1 is a single governing principle. Every time you eat, you are either feeding the inflammation or starving it. That choice, made consistently over time, is one of the most powerful interventions available to the human body. Dark leafy greens, spinach, rocket, dandelion leaves are dense in magnesium, the mineral most commonly depleted by chronic stress and one of the most critical cofactors in over 300 enzymatic processes in the body. Fermented foods, kefir, kimchi, miso, natural yogurt, deliver live microorganisms directly into the gut ecosystem, rebuilding the population of beneficial bacteria that chronic stress and poor diet have depleted. Oily fish and plant-based omega-3 sources, wild salmon, chia, hemp seeds, provide EPA and DHA, the two fatty acids that directly suppress the inflammatory pathways driving SARA's symptoms. And deeply colored berries deliver anthocyanins, plant compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier and have been shown to measurably protect neural tissue from oxidative damage. Pillar 2 is where we step into terrain that once felt like superstition, and that modern science has now mapped with extraordinary precision. Medicinal herbs, not homeopathy, not pseudoscience. Plants whose active compounds have been isolated, studied in controlled trials, and in several cases verified to produce physiological effects comparable to pharmaceutical interventions, without the dependency, without the suppression of symptoms, and without the side effect profiles that accompany synthetic alternatives. Turmeric's curcumin has been validated in over 6,000 published studies as one of the most potent natural inhibitors of NF-κB, the master inflammatory switch inside your cells. Ashwagandha, the adaptogenic root central to Ayurvedic practice for millennia, measurably reduces serum cortisol levels and has been shown in clinical trials to restore adrenal function in chronically stressed adults. Ginger accelerates gut motility, reduces intestinal permeability, and has demonstrated anti-nausea effects more reliably than several pharmaceutical alternatives. Lion's mane mushroom stimulates the synthesis of nerve growth factor, the protein responsible for the maintenance and regeneration of neurons, and is being actively studied in the context of cognitive decline. And milk thistle's silymarin complex is one of the most rigorously validated hepatoprotective compounds in botanical medicine, protecting and regenerating liver tissue so the body's primary detoxification system can do its job. Pillar 3 may be the most counterintuitive of all, because what it asks of you is not to add something, but to stop, specifically, to stop eating for a defined window of time each day. And in doing so, to unlock a biological process that your body cannot activate when it is perpetually occupied with digestion. The process is called autophagy, from the Greek, self-devouring. When the body is not processing food, it redirects its extraordinary intelligence toward cellular maintenance, damaged proteins that accumulate and contribute to neurodegeneration, cleared. Dysfunctional mitochondria that generate oxidative stress, dismantled and replaced. Cellular components compromised by years of inflammation, recycled into building blocks for regeneration. This is not a wellness trend. The The 2016 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded specifically for the scientific elucidation of autophagy and its mechanisms. This is the body's most sophisticated self-repair system. And for most people, it never gets activated because they are never not eating long enough to trigger it. SARA began with the 16-to-8 approach, her last meal at 7 in the evening, her first the following day at 11 in the morning. No calorie restriction, no food eliminated, just a window. Within 6 weeks, she described waking up and feeling, for the first time in years, as if her body had actually rested overnight rather than simply waiting for the alarm. 8 months after SARA began the 3-pillar protocol, she went back to her doctor, the same doctor who had told her everything was normal. Her inflammatory markers, which had never been flagged before because they had never been specifically tested, had dropped to levels her practitioner described as remarkable. Her gut microbiome diversity, measured for the first time, had increased substantially. Her cortisol pattern had normalized. Her ferritin levels, chronically low as it turned out, had climbed back into optimal range. The brain fog that had been her baseline for 4 years, gone. The afternoon energy crashes that had structured her entire schedule around caffeine, no longer happening. The joint stiffness she had begun to attribute to aging, resolved. Her digestion, reliable for the first time in almost a decade. Her sleep, deep, restorative, and complete without pharmaceutical aid. SARA did not become a different person. She became the person her body had always been capable of producing, once the conditions were finally right. Somewhere in this video, you recognized something. Maybe it was the tiredness that does not shift. Maybe it was the digestion that has never quite been right. Maybe it was the quiet background feeling that your body is working harder than it should for results that keep falling short. That recognition is not anxiety. It is not hypochondria. It is your body, which has been sending you this signal for a long time, finally being heard. You do not need to overhaul everything before Tuesday. You need one decision. Add one thing from Pillar 1 to your next meal. Order one herb from Pillar 2 and give it 30 days. Move your last meal 30 minutes earlier tonight and create the beginning of a fasting window. One step, and the extraordinary intelligence of your own biology will begin to meet you there. Because that is precisely what it has been designed to do. It has been waiting for you, for exactly this. Do not make it wait any longer. If this reached you, share it with one person whose body you think might be sending the same signal. Subscribe for weekly deep dives into natural healing that is grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern evidence. And leave a comment below telling me which of the 3 pillars you're beginning with. This community reads every word. We will see you in the next one.